You know that feeling, right? The one where you finally meet someone who feels less like a person and more like pure, unfiltered sunlight in human form. It's exhilarating. Texts light up your phone before you've even had a chance to shut your front door after a date. They're calling you their soulmate on day 4. And before you can even properly pronounce their last name, you've got a playlist dedicated to your song. A pet name that feels like it was etched just for you. And a weekend getaway planned 3 months into the future. That flutter in your chest, that's not just butterflies dancing a jig. Oh no, honey, that's your nervous system yanking the fire alarm, blaring a silent primal warning. Because overwhelming charm, that kind of all-consuming intensity, isn't always Cupid with his bow and arrow. Sometimes it's just a very shiny, very effective piece of bait. Look, I'm not a therapist and I don't play one on the internet, but for the past 4 years, I've been diving deep, poring over peer-reviewed studies and psychological research on manipulation tactics, so you don't have to wade through all that jargon. My goal? To distill it all down into something real, something actionable, something that can genuinely help you protect your peace. Stick around, and by the end of this, you won't just have a vague unease about certain behaviors. You'll walk away with a crystal clear 5-item checklist. This isn't just about spotting red flags. It's about learning to distinguish genuine kindness, the slow, steady burn of a real connection, from the dazzling but ultimately destructive flame of calculated love bombing. If even one line of what we discussed today stops you from ignoring that nagging gut feeling, if it empowers you to trust yourself just a little bit more, then I promise you, we'll both sleep a whole lot easier tonight. Let's pull back the curtain on what's really going on. Sign 1. The pace of affection. Think about building a truly strong, lasting relationship. It's a bit like a train climbing a steady, gentle hill. There's momentum, there's progress, but it's measured, allowing you to enjoy the scenery, to check the tracks, to feel the rhythm of the journey. Healthy interest escalates like that, gradually, naturally, giving both parties time to adjust and assess. Manipulation, though? Manipulation doesn't climb a hill, it launches like a rocket, leaving a trail of dazzling but ultimately fleeting fireworks. It's an immediate, overwhelming torrent of affection, attention, and grand gestures that feels almost too good to be true. And often it is. Researchers at the University of Groningen found something fascinating and frankly a little terrifying. Whirlwind romances, those relationships that go from 0 to I love you in a blink, can spike oxytocin levels, that powerful bonding hormone, by an astounding 300% above baseline in under a week. Think about that, 300%. This isn't just a warm, fuzzy feeling, it's a chemical dependency being forged before you've even had a chance to test for actual compatibility, shared values, or even if you can tolerate their morning breath. What happens then? All those dopamine fireworks exploding in your brain, they don't just feel good, they fog your logic, making it incredibly difficult to see what's truly happening. Your brain is literally being hijacked by feel-good chemicals, making you crave more of this person, regardless of whether they're actually good for you. Real connection understands the value of space. It gives you time to miss each other, to process your feelings, to integrate this new person into your life without completely upending it. Manipulators, on the other hand, operate with a different playbook. They flood your schedule. They want to be your everything all the time. Lunches, dinners, late-night calls, weekend trips. Suddenly every spare moment you have is accounted for, often by them. Why? Because they don't want you to have any breathing room. No space to think, no quiet moments to reflect, no time for that little voice of doubt to whisper, hey, isn't this moving a bit fast? They fear those moments because those are precisely when you might spot the red flags they're so desperately trying to obscure. Let's put it this way. Would you hand a total stranger the keys to your apartment, your car, or your entire life savings after just 3 amazing conversations? Probably not, right? Your common sense, your inherent self-preservation would kick in. So why then do we sometimes let our hearts race ahead at warp speed? If the answer to the apartment keys is a resounding no, then it's time to pump the brakes the exact same way with your heart. Recognize that overwhelming pace for what it is, a tactic to create instant, intense emotional dependence. It's the very definition of love bombing, designed to disarm you, to make you feel uniquely special and to bypass any critical assessment you might otherwise make. It's a trap, albeit a beautiful, intoxicating one. Sign 2, the nature of the compliments. There's a world of difference between a genuine compliment and a manipulative one, and it often comes down to specificity. Think about the people who truly see you. They notice the little things, don't they? They might say, "I really like how you scrunch your nose when you laugh. It's so authentic." Or, "That presentation you gave yesterday was brilliant. I especially appreciated how you broke down that complex data into such digestible points." These are specific, thoughtful, and show they've been paying attention to you. They're seeing the unique nuances that make you, well, you. Love bombers, however, tend to spray generic superlatives like confetti at a parade. "You're the most incredible person I've ever met. You're perfect in every way. You're just so amazing." While these sound wonderful on the surface, take a moment to really listen. Do they actually mean anything? Are they tied to a specific action, a specific trait, a specific moment? Usually not. They're broad, sweeping statements designed to make you feel universally adored, but without any real substance. A fascinating 2021 study published in the Journal of Language and Social Psychology shed light on this. It demonstrated that impersonal, generalized praise builds quick compliance because it feels cinematic, almost like something out of a romantic movie, rather than a genuine human interaction. It taps into our deepest desires to be seen as extraordinary, to be idealized. It's a fantasy, not reality, and that fantasy can be incredibly intoxicating, making us drop our guard. So next time you hear one of these grand, sweeping declarations, especially if it feels a little vague, try a simple countermove. Respond with curiosity. Ask, "Oh, that's really sweet, but what specifically feels perfect to you?" Or, "What is it about me that makes me the most incredible person you've ever met?" A sincere person, someone who truly means what they're saying and has been observing you, will likely respond with detail, perhaps even a charming anecdote. They'll tell you about a moment, a quality, something concrete that resonated with them. They'll engage with your question. A manipulator, on the other hand, they'll often pivot to a new, equally generic compliment, trying to distract you from their lack of specificity. Or even worse, they might try to guilt you for questioning their sincere feelings. They might say something like, "Why are you always so analytical? Can't you just accept a compliment?" Or, "I thought we had a connection, but I guess you don't trust me." This is a classic tactic to make you feel bad for daring to scrutinize their words, for daring to ask for something real. Don't fall for it. Your request for clarity isn't being analytical. It's being discerning. It's seeking authenticity. And that's something you absolutely deserve. Sign 3. Their reaction to boundaries. This sign is perhaps one of the most telling because boundaries are the invisible lines that define who we are and what we need. Kind people, genuinely respectful individuals, understand and respect a no. They see it as a clear communication of your limits, your needs, your autonomy. Manipulators, however, don't see no as a boundary. They see it as the starting bid in a negotiation, an invitation to push harder, to charm more, to wear you down. Picture this scenario. You've had a wonderful date, but you know you need to get home because you have an early, important meeting the next morning. You say, clearly and politely, "And I can't stay over tonight as much as I'd love to. I've got an early meeting." A healthy, respectful date might reply, "Understood, that's a shame, but I get it. How about we grab breakfast instead if you have time?" They acknowledge your boundary, they respect your commitment, and they offer an alternative that works within your limits. That's a sign of a secure, considerate person. Now picture the love bomber's retort. It might be something like, "Oh, I thought we had something special tonight. I guess I was wrong about us," delivered with a sigh and a downcast gaze. Or, "Are you sure? I was really looking forward to spending more time with you. I guess my feelings don't matter as much as your meeting." What just happened there? Your perfectly reasonable boundary, your legitimate need for rest and preparation, has been twisted. It's no longer about your meeting. It's about their disappointment, their hurt feelings, and suddenly you're the one who feels like they've committed a moral failing. This is a classic guilt trip trigger, a tactic so prevalent it's been documented in workplace and relationship research across 42 cultures. It's an insidious way to make you feel responsible for their emotional state, coercing you into compliance by weaponizing your empathy. The insidious thing about this boundary erosion is that it rarely starts with big, obvious demands. It's a slow chipping away, a series of small negotiations where your no is repeatedly challenged, questioned, or met with subtle emotional blackmail. Each time you concede, even a little, you teach them that your boundaries are flexible, that they can be moved. This sets a dangerous precedent, leading to a gradual loss of your autonomy, and a feeling of being constantly overwhelmed or controlled. Your task here is simple but crucial. Hold the line once and then watch. If respect shows up, if they genuinely acknowledge and honor your no, then you've got a good sign. If it doesn't, if they persist, if they try to make you feel guilty or selfish for having needs, then you just saved yourself months, if not years, of emotional erosion, of constantly feeling like your needs are secondary, and of a relationship built on coercion rather than mutual respect. Trust me, that feeling of being guilt-tripped for asserting yourself is a glaring red flag you absolutely cannot ignore. Sign 4. Isolation versus integration. A healthy, loving partner who genuinely sees a future with you typically wants to integrate you into their world, and they want to be integrated into yours. They're curious about your friends, your quirky coworker, even your aunt who overshares at family gatherings. They see these people as extensions of you, as part of the rich tapestry of your life that they want to be a part of. They want to connect with your support system, to understand the community that shaped you. Manipulators, on the other hand, have a different agenda. They systematically dim those outside lights, subtly or sometimes not so subtly, aiming to make themselves your only glow. Their goal is to isolate you, to sever your connections to external reality checks, and to make you utterly dependent on them for your emotional, social, and even practical needs. This tactic, known as isolation, is a cornerstone of manipulative relationships because it ensures that their version of reality becomes your only reality. How does this play out? It can start subtly. They might monopolize your weekends, always having plans for just the two of you, making it difficult to schedule time with friends. They might gently, or not so gently, critique your best friend's attitude or your family's drama, planting seeds of doubt about the people you love and trust. Your sister is always so negative, they might say, or your friends just don't understand our special connection. They might even manufacture drama right before important family gatherings, creating a situation that makes it awkward or impossible for you to attend, effectively cutting you off from your support network. The insidious nature of this is that it often feels like intense intimacy at first. We're so connected, we don't need anyone else, they might declare, making you feel special and unique. But over time, you realize you're spending less and less time with your old friends, your hobbies have fallen by the wayside, and your family calls are becoming less frequent. You start to rely solely on this one person for all your social interaction, for all your emotional validation. The end goal, plain and simple, is to make you outsource your entire reality-checking mechanism to them. If they're your only source of information, your only confidant, your only mirror, then they control the reflection you see of yourself and the world. Your counter-move here is deliberate and powerful. Actively schedule life outside the romance, on purpose. Make plans with your friends, pursue your hobbies, spend time with your family, even if it feels like a chore at first. Re-establish those connections, and then watch what happens. If protests follow, if they become upset, jealous, or try to guilt-trip you, don't you want to spend time with me? Then you've spotted intent, not just insecurity. Insecurity might express a mild preference. Manipulative intent will actively try to prevent you from having an independent life. True love expands your world, manipulation shrinks it. Sign 5. Future faking versus realistic planning. The grand plans, the dreams of a shared future. Talking about trips to exotic locales, envisioning babies, discussing business ventures, or even just what your ideal Saturday morning looks like together. None of this in itself is a red flag. Healthy couples dream and plan together. It's a beautiful part of building a life. The critical distinction, however, lies in the speed and the solidity of these future discussions. Manipulators are masters of what's called future faking. They paint technicolor futures with broad, sweeping strokes. We'll open a beach bar in Costa Rica. We'll buy a farmhouse with a big porch and a swing. We're going to travel the world together, just you and me. These visions are incredibly enticing, designed to hook you, to make you invest emotionally in a shared fantasy. But here's the catch. There's no substance behind them. There's no savings account being built, no visa research being done, no timeline being discussed, no real-world steps being considered. It's emotional monopoly money designed to keep you gambling, to keep you chasing the high of a dream that will never materialize. They want to sell you a beautiful picture, not build you a real house. Think about it. If you were planning a real trip, you'd discuss the destination, the budget, the dates, who's booking what. If you were thinking about a big move, you'd talk about jobs, schools, logistics. Stable partners toss ideas around like seeds, yes, but they also discuss the soil, the weather, and what backup crops they might need if things don't go exactly to plan. They engage with the practicalities, the details, the potential challenges, not just the romanticized outcome. Their dreams are grounded in reality, even if they're ambitious. One easy, incredibly revealing test you can employ is to simply ask, "Oh, that sounds amazing. What's step 2? Or how do you envision us actually making that happen?" A future faker will stall at the fantasy. They'll likely pivot, get vague, or even become agitated if you press for logistics. "Oh, we'll figure it out," they might say dismissively. Or, "Why do you always have to be so practical? Can't you just dream with me?" They want you to stay in the realm of pure imagination, where their promises don't have to face the harsh light of reality. A genuine planner, someone truly invested in a shared future, will dive into logistics without hesitation. They might not have all the answers, but they'll be excited to discuss the how, the when, the what-ifs. They're not afraid of the details because they're serious about building something real with you. If someone is constantly selling you a dream without any concrete steps, without any willingness to engage with the practicalities, understand that you're likely being strung along by a master of future faking. And it's time to cash out your emotional chips. Section 6. The rug pull. This is where the true nature of love bombing reveals its sinister core. Once that dependency is cemented, once you're hooked on the chemical high, once your boundaries have been eroded, once you're isolated from your support system, and once you're emotionally invested in their fabricated future, that's when the love bomber initiates the dreaded devalue phase. The rug gets pulled out from under you, often without warning, leaving you reeling. The compliments, once so lavish and constant, suddenly turn into sharp, cutting critiques. "You're too sensitive," they might sneer, or "You're so disorganized, I don't know how you manage anything." The unwavering attention disappears, replaced by indifference or even outright contempt. The affection that once felt like a warm blanket becomes a weapon, a lever to control you. The withdrawal of their praise, their presence, their love becomes a powerful form of leverage. They know you're addicted to that initial rush, that feeling of being their soulmate. And here's the kicker. Your brain's still desperately chasing that earlier high, that intense oxytocin surge, will bend over backwards to restore it. You'll start questioning yourself. Was it something I did? Am I really too sensitive? If I just try harder, if I just do what they want, maybe they'll go back to being the person I fell in love with. That confusion you feel, that desperate yearning for the good times to return, is not love. It's intermittent reinforcement, a powerful psychological mechanism. It's the exact same principle that keeps gamblers hooked on slot machines. The unpredictable reward, the occasional win among many losses, is far more addictive than a consistent, predictable payout. Your brain is scrambling to understand why the reward disappeared, and it attributes the inconsistency to your failings, not theirs. This is also where gaslighting often kicks in, a tactic explicitly mentioned in our research. They might deny past events, twist your words, or make you doubt your own memory and perception. "I never said that. You're imagining things. You're crazy." They do this to further destabilize you, making you question your sanity and increasing your reliance on their version of reality. Recognition is your exit ramp. The moment those hot-cold cycles replace steady warmth, the moment the person who once adored you starts to systematically tear you down, treat that inconsistency as data, not a puzzle to solve. It's not about trying harder to win them back. It's about seeing the pattern for what it is, a deliberate act of manipulation designed to control you. That confusion, that emotional whiplash, is a sign that you're caught in a destructive cycle, and the only way out is to get off the ride. If these signs are making your stomach drop, if you're nodding along because you've lived some version of this story, please do me a favor, smash that like button. Your click isn't just a vanity metric, it's a signal to the algorithm that this content is important. And that means it just might show this video to someone else who's currently stuck in the haze, wondering if their fairy tale is actually a cautionary tale. Your click could be their lifeline. Section 7. How to protect yourself. Okay, so you've learned to spot the signs. Now, what do you do? How do you shield your heart and mind from these insidious tactics? Here are 5 practical, powerful ways to protect yourself and reclaim your autonomy. Journal facts, not feelings. Manipulators thrive in the muddy waters of emotional recall. They rely on you forgetting details, questioning your memory, and getting lost in your feelings. Your counterweapon is a dated log of facts. This isn't about writing a diary entry about how you feel sad. It's about documenting what happened. On a date, time, they said, specific quote. Later they denied it. Or they promised X on date, but then did Y. A dated log pulls you back to shore when you feel like you're drowning in confusion. It provides concrete evidence, a tangible anchor to reality that combats gaslighting and helps you trust your own perceptions. This objective record is your shield against their attempts to distort your reality. Employ the 3-text rule. In the early stages of dating, or even in established relationships where manipulation might be at play, constant texting can be a subtle grooming tactic. It creates a sense of urgency, an expectation of immediate response, and can be used to control your attention. If someone floods you with more than 3 unanswered messages in a row, especially if they're escalating in tone or demanding a response, switch to a phone call or an in-person chat. Why? Because text messages lack tone and nuance, making it easier for manipulators to create anxiety or misinterpretations. A live conversation forces them to engage more genuinely, and it gives you a chance to gauge their true intent. If they resist a call, that's another data point for your journal. Install a boundary buddy. Isolation is a manipulator's best friend. Your defense, a trusted friend or family member who acts as your external reality check. Pre-agree with this person that when you start dating someone new or when things feel off in an existing relationship, you'll check in regularly. A simple text. Still alive and sane? Can be enough. Share key details, observations, and feelings with them. This isn't about bad-mouthing your partner. It's about having an objective ear. Someone who can spot patterns you might be too close to see. This cuts isolation at the root, ensuring you always have an external perspective and a vital link to your support network, countering the manipulator's efforts to sever those ties. Practice the pause. Manipulators hate time. They thrive on urgency, on making you feel like you need to make a decision now or respond immediately. Any request, any demand, any intense emotional appeal that triggers even a tiny tingle of obligation or discomfort in your gut deserves a 24-hour delay. That's an interesting idea. Let me think about it and get back to you tomorrow. Or I need some time to process that. This simple act of pausing gives you space to think clearly, to consult your boundary buddy, to check your journal, and to let your nervous system calm down. Healthy people respect a request for time and space. Manipulators will often push back, demanding an immediate answer, seeing your pause as a challenge to their control. Their reaction to your pause will tell you everything you need to know. Seek therapy if you notice chronic self-doubt. Let's be clear, therapy isn't for broken people. It's a gym for your boundaries, a training ground for self-awareness, and a safe space to process complex emotions. If you find yourself constantly second-guessing your perceptions, feeling confused about what's real, experiencing persistent anxiety, or struggling to trust your own judgment, these are classic signs of being subjected to manipulation, especially gaslighting. A therapist can provide an objective perspective, help you rebuild your self-trust, and equip you with tools to recognize and assert your boundaries more effectively. It's an investment in your mental and emotional well-being, and it's one of the most powerful forms of self-protection you can undertake. Remember, strengthening your self-awareness and trusting your perceptions are paramount in defending against manipulation. Section 8, the empathy trap. A quick but crucial note here. Learning to spot manipulation does not mean you should suddenly torch every charming person you meet. The goal here isn't to cultivate cynicism, it's to develop discernment. It's about sharpening your emotional intelligence so you can tell the difference between genuine charisma and calculated coercion. There are plenty of wonderful, magnetic people in the world whose charm is authentic, whose affection is sincere, and whose intentions are pure. Don't let a bad experience with a manipulator close you off to the possibility of a truly healthy, deeply fulfilling connection. Instead, after today, treat intense affection and lightning-fast connection like a free trial. Enjoy the demo, appreciate the initial excitement, but for goodness sake, read the fine print before you subscribe, before you commit your heart and your life Don't let the allure of instant gratification blind you to potential long-term costs. Keep your friends close, cultivate and cherish your hobbies, protect your Saturday morning solo if that's what your soul craves, maintain your independent life, your interests, your identity. The right partner, a truly healthy and respectful one, won't ask you to audition for your own life. They won't try to fit you into a pre-written script. Instead, they'll ask to build a scene together, line by line, with rewrites welcomed and encouraged from both sides. They'll celebrate your individuality, not try to erase it. They'll add to your life, not subtract from it. They'll value your boundaries, not test them. So let's recap these vital warning signs: an overwhelming, dizzying pace of affection, vague and generalized compliments that lack specificity, hostile reactions to your perfectly reasonable boundaries, subtle or overt attempts to isolate you from your support system, and grand, fantastical future faking without any concrete plans. These are the neon arrows, brightly lit and impossible to ignore, pointing directly toward manipulation, not genuine charm. If you see just one or two of those arrows light up, take notes. Observe, gather more data, and proceed with caution. But if all 5 of them are flashing, if the entire marquee of manipulation is illuminated, then it's not just a warning, it's your cue. Take flight. Your nervous system, that primal alarm bell deep within you, is far smarter and more reliable than any romantic to-do list or idealized fantasy you might be holding on to. Trust that flutter in your chest, that uneasy feeling in your gut. It's your inner wisdom trying to protect you. Because here's the truth: real affection, authentic connection, doesn't leave you dizzy, confused, or constantly second-guessing yourself. It leaves you feeling seen, valued, respected, and most importantly, safe. Drop a comment below telling us which sign you've encountered, or if you have another one we missed. And please share this video with anyone you know who might be wondering if their fairy tale romance is actually a cleverly disguised cautionary tale. Until next time, keep your heart open, but keep your eyes open even wider.